I was a banker back in the 90s, very successful, fat, dumb, and happy, and never imagined ever doing anything differently. But it was a point in the career where I was doing really well, but I was hungry for more, and I wanted to figure out what could I do to grow my business, what could I do to earn more money, but also spend more time with the family. And it was an interesting paradox because I was very successful. And I worked for a great boss who just kind of put up with me. But one of the things I did is I became an avid learner. So I studied anything and everything that had to do with sales and marketing, whether it was business specific or not, or banking specific or not. I was just hungry for it. So my boss paid for seminars for me to fly to, home study courses for me to take, and books for me to read. And I'm a very good implementer, which I think is key to an entrepreneurial successful venture, is to implement what you learn. And I was very good at it, but all of it worked, but none of it really worked. I mean, sure, I was able to fine tune some processes, hired a couple of assistants. I went home from work a couple hours earlier a week, but nothing really gave me that bolster in my career that I was shooting for. And it wasn't until I discovered a book called Guerrilla Marketing. And believe it or not, it was in its third edition. I had never even heard of it before, never seen it, never even knew the concept, and I just happened to get a copy of the book. It was so insignificant at the time, I don't even remember how I got it. I don't know if somebody gave it to me, I don't know if I bought it, I don't know if I stole it, or I don't know how. I just somehow got my hands on a copy. And I really resonated with the book. I realized, hey, that I was successful because I was a guerrilla and didn't know what that means. In fact, it really means I was looking for the same goals of profits and growing my business, but using unconventional methods. So I used my time, my energy, my imagination, and just my knowledge of the industry to grow my business as a banker. But I didn't realize that was called guerrilla marketing. But I became very passionate about the book and fell in love with the author. And the author encouraged me to reach out and develop a relationship with him, which is very entrepreneurial of him. And I did, and he responded on the other end. So over a couple of years of just kind of communicating, him coaching me, I ended up becoming a certified guerrilla coach just so I could learn more about guerrilla marketing. And all that I learned continued to grow my business. But one of the things he said to me, not only in the book and in subsequent conversations, was that if I wanted to grow my business, and if I wanted to charge more and negotiate less, and if I wanted to get people to call me back that would never give me the time of day, I'd have to do stuff that typical bankers don't do. I had to treat my business as if it was my own entrepreneurial enterprise, and I had to step out of the comfort zone and do things that my competition wouldn't do and my peers weren't. And one of the things he suggested was pretty cliche, but it worked. He suggested that I write a book about the topic or about my passion in the business. So I didn't realize that was a hard thing to do, so I did. And I ended up getting it published. Didn't realize that was a hard thing to do either. But it was one of the worst experiences I had ever gone through. And this is short, trust me. But it really was one of the worst experiences I've ever gone through. I lost all control, and I didn't have any input in the cover. And there was a lot of things about the publishing process that just wasn't fun. But it worked. Literally, in less than 8 months, I doubled my income. And I was already doing very well. But I doubled my income because now I was a recognized authority. And the local media was actually calling me when anything happened in the banking industry because I was on Yahoo who wrote a book about it. And that's really laughable. It was just overnight success. Theoretically, about 8 months later. And I realized, wow, Jay was right. This book is a powerful tool to grow your business. So I became very passionate about that, all the while still learning more about guerrilla marketing and really getting excited about the books. So much so that I started to teach my clients all across the country to try to do the same thing that I did to grow their business. And at that point in my career, I was like a middleman for the banks. I offered money and products to the local mortgage people that offered money to buy or refinance a house. So I'm thinking if I could help them grow their business, they'd earn more money, I'd earn more money, we'd be all happy campers. So I started to inspire others to do that. All the while, my books was really being a success. Didn't like the relationship with the publisher. Writing a second book, same thing, just process. It did well. Then I self-published 2 books after that, thinking, okay, now that I think I'm somebody, I've got something good to say, maybe I can just do it myself. And I really enjoyed being in complete control of everything. What it looked like, tastes like, feels like, smells like, it was all up to me. But the reality is nobody really cared when I released them because I didn't have that distribution, I didn't have that third-party validation of somebody else saying I was wonderful. At this point, it was just me saying I was wonderful, which doesn't go across as well as somebody else saying you're wonderful, as you can imagine. But I still became very passionate about the book being a powerful tool. So I continued to kind of focus on that, all the while still having a thriving day job as a banker, but had this little passion on the side of helping others do the same thing that I was doing. In fact, if somebody got stuck with me in an elevator, that learned about my whole passion with the book, any client that would listen to me, anybody that, even if they didn't want to listen to me, they still heard what I was talking about. Finally, about 2003, my wife cornered me and said, we got to talk. which is a conversation you never really want to have your spouse, introduce. So she reminded me that I'm working 2 full-time jobs, only getting paid for one, and suggested that we sit down and open up our own company and try to help facilitate professionals doing the same thing that I did with the book in a more organized method. Ended up doing that, named it after the 2 kids, and that was '03. By '04, I quit the day job as a maker, and by '05, we had full bookstore distribution throughout North America and just having a blast changing lives of authors and readers across the globe. Lots of fun.